everybody? It's College Football Saturday, and we are live here on the Sharky Waters Nation channel. I am GunzPicks, the self-proclaimed CFB GOAT, the king of things, the point guard of podcasting. You know all the drill, but you can just call me the Gun, whatever you want to do. And I am also joined with my prestigious co-host at this point. I mean, damn, they're here every week. We got the pimp slap pod himself, Mikey M, and we got Connor Picks on Twitter. What's going on? I'll start with you, Mike. How's your Saturday morning?
Man, it started early. A lot going on today. A lot going on with the ponies. It's a big weekend for the ponies. A lot of college football. Had to dive into the NBA, the NHL. It's a full card Saturday. There's UFC. It's all happening, and it's been rocking and rolling for me since about 4:30 this morning. So let's keep it rolling. Let's keep going.
Let's go. And of course, Connor joining us this morning. He's ready to go.
Early.
Yeah, early. And he's got a live stream to do at noon. Go on Pub Sports. So to go check that out. You may see some special appearance by yours truly if he gives me the link. What's going on, Connor? How you doing this morning?
The link, as always. I will get you the link for sure. I'm pumped. How can you beat Saturday full college football? We only have a few of the weeks left. So, man. Let's get it done.
We have to embrace them. A lot of good matchups. It'll be big, humongous card, way better than it was last week. But I want to make sure I give shout outs to the chat on this one. Jay McEvie says, yes, sir. He's ready to go. Give him the horn on that one. And of course, Stacks Pod on this one. He loves Arizona State plus 11 on that one. And he's also transparent with the record. Of course, Rocco joining us in the chat. He says, let's go. Big Saturday from the boy. Jay Smooth joining us says, let's do it. And Justin back in. He says, Gun C-Mac, pimp slap. Look at these sluts. Nasty Nate says, you dirty bastard. Why are you doing it on this morning? I'll give you the horn for that one. Of course, Brian just giving his props on this one. But man, big card today. I want to make sure that we give proper respect to the picks on this one. I gave you a 6-pack of picks yesterday. Of course, Colorado State didn't hit for us. Very sweaty at the end, but they couldn't get a fourth down conversion across the 50. I digress. We move on. But let's start with you, Mike. What plays are you loving today?
Hey, don't look now, but my college football is heating up. This week's been pretty solid to get things rolling early, and I want to keep it going here today. So, not in love with this 12 o'clock spot. I know the co-host for CMAC there loves this 12 o'clock window. But for me, the first place that I jumped in on, I triple dipped this Nebraska game. Yeah, triple dipped Nebraska. That's not something I thought I'd be saying about 12 p.m. Eastern time on a Saturday. But I went with Nebraska. I got Nebraska in the first half -1. I've got the full game -3. And I took a shot on the over at 34.5. Let me just take a look at the over total right now. Yeah, 34.5's out there, and it's starting to creep back up. It opened at 38.5, and it's moving on its way down. I just kind of looked at a couple of the numbers here. The dollars and cents of this game here. The first and foremost was, a straight coaching opportunity here. When you've got Nebraska, when they're coming off of a win, their coach just finds a way to keep firing and win. Matt Rule factor, they're 31-16 after a win. And, you got a 2-6 Michigan State team that, to me, just doesn't they don't really have their shit together whatsoever. They just got beat up by Minnesota. They got shut out by Michigan. And that, I think, was the pivotal point for them. 49-0, shutout. They struggled against Rutgers. They struggled against Iowa. They struggled against Maryland. And then they got beat down by Minnesota. So I think it's over for Michigan State. And I went to this over. Where was my trend for this over? I was talking a little bit about this one last night. And it's very much in play today as well. Where is it there? Michigan State. Coming off at home off a conference game, they are 12-0 to the over, and they've gone over by almost 9 points in a game. So you got over a touchdown in terms of the margin for that opportunity. That was my 12 o'clock look. It's, like I said, a triple dip. I didn't expect to be there. The second side of things I'm looking at is Notre Dame. That's the other game I've got for the 12 o'clock window. I know you're going to probably like to hear that, but I got Notre Dame in an 11-0 spot here. As long as it's after week 3 of the season. The last game went over the total by more than 2 touchdowns. It is a 11-0 opportunity here. And, if I look at the market on this thing, it makes a lot of sense. Clemson, I feel like Clemson's kind of been called out here. If you watch this week and some of the preseason conversations with Dabu Swinney. They're talking about his contract. They're talking about how much money he's getting paid to have a mediocre season. And he responded back and said, "You're not going to take the fun out of the season for me." But that being said, they opened up as a 4-point favorite. They're now 3.5-point dogs. So get them out of here. Give me that Notre Dame spot. I'll lay the touchdown with Notre Dame.
Go bang. We're going to be talking about that game here in a minute. Hit the board on that one. Unit Special is in the building. Says you boys roll today, Guns. He's talking about the Fighting Irish, so he aligns with you there. Mike, top of the bag. Roddy M in the chat. And, of course, Nasty Nate coming in with his play. He says Notre Dame first half is the play. And, of course, my guy and our guy, Wine Time, joining us here. What's up, my guy? Give him the horn on that one. Now, we're going to be talking about a lot of these top 25 plays, but I'm going to pass it to you, C-Mac. I don't want something dirty. I want something in the crumbs. I want some of these egregious plays that you probably won't find on your TV. They'll just be live streaming on the internet. What do you love today in the dirty and the grimy?
All right, let's get a couple grimy plays. I mean, I gave this one out earlier. I'm on South Florida. I don't trust Memphis. I just don't trust Memphis laying points. Whether they're at home, on the road, especially at home, especially double digits. You're getting the 2 touchdowns. South Florida after the bye. This team's 4-4. After a team that was just pathetic last year. I mean, they've turned it around. They really have played some, good games. We can remember they fought against Alabama. They've had a couple bad losses, a few weeks ago. But, hey, they're fighting for a bowl game, and I think they're in this one. I don't trust Memphis at all. Memphis will score on them. But I think Memphis doesn't have that defense. And especially if they get a 2-touchdown lead, they constantly are playing that prevent defense. We saw it last week with North Texas. The back door will be wide open. But I think they could be in this game close. So I'm on South Florida in that one. One other total I wanted to get on real quick for the morning. It's the 2 Eastern here. We went over this with Jimmy. He likes Temple. There's no way I can take Temple. With the points with EJ Warner. If he's in, that would be the only reason. But if he is in, I don't know how the game doesn't get over. Temple's defense is horrible. Terrible. We know Navy wants to run it, and that kills the clock. But they should be able to score. And if EJ Warner is in, I don't know how. I think Temple gets to 20 on Navy. So this line has moved up, this total. It opened like 41, 42. It is up to 45.5. I even see 46. But I think it's still, if as long as he's in, healthy, I think it gets over.
Yeah, I'm seeing 46s on the board currently across all books on this one. So, if you can find anything better, I'm seeing 45.5 too. Westgate's got a 45.5. So that number, however you like the total on that one, you could be seeing points, as C-Mac was alluding to. But let's go ahead.
I'll jump in there too real quick and just say I love the points in that game. I don't see how Navy doesn't put boot to ass on Temple this game. I don't think Temple first of all is definitely a stymie team for me. I don't see that they get the job done quite a bit here, but nice little number that goes back to 2020 for Temple after they've given up 31 points or more in back-to-back games. As long as the line's not greater than 4 touchdowns, which clearly we're not there here. We've got 1 touchdown. They're 0-12 and they're losing by 18 points. On the flip side of things, Navy going back 4 years on the road in a conference game is 16-3, winning by 10 points. So
they've been better on the road. Navy over the last few years. Yeah. Navy's been better in covered numbers on the road the last few years. And we've seen this gone over the touchdown. Yeah.
And the numbers moved from 8.5 down to 7 for us. So we're kind of getting the better part of the number than where it opened up without having to worry about getting over that touchdown. I think it's going to be a tough day for Temple today. Tough sled. I think they can probably put up 2 touchdowns, but I think Navy puts up, at least 4. And this number is going to, I think it sails over that 40, 44.5, 45.5, whatever number you can get out there as well. I like that total too, C-Mac.
Yeah, that's a good key number on that one. So, yeah, I would have to agree on that one. The over is probably the take. And, of course, the chat is debating on this one. Stephen Hairston likes Clemson today to beat my boys at home after that back-to-back losses, I believe. Football guy in the chat says, "Good morning, fellas. Let's go." Shout out to the football guy. Always in the chat. Always hanging out with the gun on a Saturday morning. And, of course, Justin just saying. I actually really, really like Temple, but y'all got me nervous on this one. But hey, embrace debate. You take whatever play you want. We just give our opinions on it. But let's get to the brass tacks of everything and talk a little top 25 game on this one. Notre Dame versus Clemson. This game does tip off at noontime. Early game for a Notre Dame game. And quite frankly, this game used to be prime time, but lost his appeal with the the lacklusterness of Clemson this season. Line sitting right now at -3, 3.5 coming up on the boards now, so it looks like it's steaming up in the Notre Dame direction. But Mikey says Notre Dame. I do lean Notre Dame on this one, but of course I'm a fan and I'm a little bit delusional when it comes to them. But I'll give it to you, Connor. What are your thoughts on Notre Dame versus Clemson?
Yeah, I think you just bet Notre Dame or you just stay away. I just, in the end, and I'm staying away.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of a Notre Dame, somewhat like Notre Dame. I wouldn't call me a fan, but like you, Guns, but I've always liked Notre Dame. Mikey hates him, which I love. He's anti-Rudy, anti-Notre Dame. Gotta love it.
That's Penn State, though. I mean, we got history.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad Penn State lost. Mike was all hyped up for him. They lost to Ohio State again. Man. Hey, next year? All right. So I would just take the Irish. But this, to me, when you look at everything, they just win here. But this is not going to, I think, be easy. But Clemson hasn't put like a game together. And maybe that first half of Florida State, and then the second obviously went down to the wire. They just have been so inconsistent. And then other wins like Syracuse doesn't look that great right now either. And we see how bad Syracuse has been. So this Clemson Tiger team, it's on to next year, but this is a spoiler game. But Notre Dame needs this. And I think they have one of the best defense in the country that needs to travel. And I think that can show up here. And I think they could win by, a touchdown. It won't be easy, though, in Death Valley here.
Yeah, it's a tough place on the road. South Bend, I would say Notre Dame all day long. It's got me a little bit nervous. I can't put a bet on it myself. I just think that
me too.
Right now, Clemson, they just look lost. They look directionless. The Cade Klubnik experiment's really not working out. They still got Shipley. I mean, you would expect Shipley to really produce, but he's kind of had a drop off this year. I don't know about this team at all. I mean, I lean on the Notre Dame side, but my question is, Sam Hartman going into that spot, are we going to see the Louisville version of him? Or are we going to see, something similar to what we saw against USC? And even when he plays some of these lower tier teams, I'm just going to watch as a fan and bite my nails nervously. Because quite frankly, this is the last toughest game on the schedule for Notre Dame. So, I mean, if they want to go and run the table, and get to a big bowl game, they're going to have to get through Clemson and then hopefully, kind of coast through the rest of their schedule. But that's going to do it for that game. But let's, while we're taking a little break from the top 25, let's take a breath. Let's get a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. Let's go let's go to the coffee pot. Let's grind up some beans. Let's shove it in the pot. Let's hit the button. Let's listen to the little bubbling pour, because we have ourselves a little bit of a twofer cup of coffee parlay day. Let's go. Cup of coffee parlay is always sponsored by Viva Tequila Seltzers. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, 4.5 ABV. Go check them out at vivaseltzer.com and on Twitter at vivaseltzers. But let's start with my delicious cup of coffee parlay. 10-legger today, boys. We're going to go A&M and a lot of doggies on this one. A&M money line, UVA money line, UTSA money line, Georgia money line. I think they smack Missouri. It seems like every time they get into these spots, that's what they do when the lights are brightest. Marshall money line, Iowa State money line, West Virginia money line, take me home country road. And then we got Oregon State money line, Fresno State money line, and we finish it off with a late night degenerate special. Arizona as the doggy money line. That is a plus 13,530 parlay. You lay $10, you get $1,000 $353. So that is the GunzPicks cup of coffee parlay. But guess what? Because you guys joined us here within the next 30 minutes, you not only get one parlay, you get a second parlay for the low price of $0.00 because Mike says, I want to be on the cup of coffee parlay himself. Mike, take it away.
Get me in there. You know, it's called I was up way too early and got way too excited about a couple of spots, cup of coffee parlay today. And what is that? An 8-legger? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I believe is the number. And that's been the magic number for me this week. I've got 2 under the belt. So we're going to run it back here. 2 strong trends. So I like the money lines here. I was looking at some opportunities for these teams and just kind of, the spreads are, they're winning at about a 60% rate. But when you take the spread out of the equation, these teams are covering on both of these fronts at about an 85% clip, and they're going over comfortably. So it's not a factor for me. So I went South Carolina money line, Utah money line, Virginia money line, Tulsa money line, Texas State money line. Then I found another spot here with this first halfers. I kind of dissected a number that I came across there, and I had a situation where it's kind of the margins of fives here. You've got your last 5 games against plus your opponent's margin of their last 5 games. If it's over 68 points, the favorites are 713 and 243. The first half numbers, though, they're winning by about 15 points on that first half spot, which was really hard to believe given that huge sample size there. But give me the money lines in this last 4 legs: UCF first half, App State first half, Washington first half. And are we missing one? I think we're missing one.
Are we missing
Navy
one?
first half. Navy first half.
Oh, I missed one. Okay, let me
extra leg in
I missed a leg. I was typing fast this morning. I had to add my coffee. Let me fix that for a second. That's the beauty of editing on the fly here on a beautiful Saturday morning. And now we're fixed. Save. Bang. There we go.
I'm surprised I caught that. There's so many fucking legs there. I'm surprised I was able to catch it. But there it is. There's the official guy there. 4 first halfers, 5 full gamers, and it's an 80 plus 8,100 opportunity to get some cash. So no need to put 1,000 on it, just 100, maybe 50 if that's all you want to get into. That's fine. But no, bet size appropriately. We're here having fun with it. The cup of coffee is just that. So let's get that cash. Let's get paid.
Hell yeah, boys. Hell yeah. And I want to make sure I get into one of my picks before we go delve into this humongous slate of just ranked opponent after ranked opponent. And let's talk about this one right here. And this should be a ranked game, but of course, Texas A&M is kind of dropped a little bit in the standings, but they're going to be going on the road here to Ole Miss to go play the boys. Aggies on this one, I think, are in a perfect spot again. Forgive me. I'm back on my bullshit. I'm back on the Aggies again. I don't know what's wrong with me, but every time I look at their statistical elements, I just think this is the perfect spot for Texas A&M. Now you got Ole Miss on a 4-game winning streak, 7-1 straight up, 6-2 ATS. They're off a home win versus Vandy, 33-7 plus 202 net yards in that game. A&M is off a win themselves. Didn't cover the spread, though, for us last week with South Carolina. After back-to-back losses versus Tennessee and Bama, I figured they would go and smoke them, but they didn't. But they are 5-3 straight up, 4-4 ATS this season. So the strength of the A&M team is their defense. They hold opponents to 269 yards per game, the offense, and 2.8 yards per carry on the ground, 55.9% pass completion rate, and 173 yards per game passing. That is ranked 9th in the country. They also have a 12.2% sack rate, which is ranked number 1 in the country. They have the best defensive line in the country. There's a reason why Jimbo went and got all those 5 stars a couple years ago. They hold their opponents to 126 yards below their opponent offensive season average. That's a ton of yards. So say if you average 326 yards per game, you're only going to get 200 on average versus the A&M defense. This will be the best defense, too, that Ole Miss has seen all year. If you want to go with a similar defensive background in this spot, you'd have to look at the Bama game. And guess what happened in that game? Bama beat the piss out of them, 24-10, minus 55 net yards, and they were sacked 5 times. Also, this is a revenge game for A&M, as Miss beat them in College Station last season, 31-28, where Ole Miss was a 2-point road favorite. Miss might be caught in a look ahead as well, because guess who they have to play next week? Mighty Georgia in Athens. So there may be a little bit of look ahead there. Who knows? A&M's not the type of team you would typically look ahead, but they haven't played their best ball all season. I just think this is a perfect spot to be taking A&M. You have the revenge factor. You have the better defense, where Ole Miss's offense has struggled versus good defenses. I think they're a live dog here. I wouldn't mind you say sprinkle that one on the money line here. Give me A&M +3, 2-unit special, baby. Any thoughts on that game? Anybody?
Go ahead, Mike.
If you got nothing, I will keep moving.
Yeah, I really don't. I mean, I don't like the number. I didn't see the number move on that Ole Miss side with the cash coming in on them, so that's obviously a concern for me. Texas A&M's been a team I can't get right with, so I don't really have an opinion on that game.
Well, this is our live game here coming up here in Pub Sports Radio.
So
we'll be hitting all the games, but we're on it. A&M Ole Miss is Cab will be going crazy with A&M with you.
That's an A&M.
Guns. I didn't want to touch the side here. I don't mind you taking the points with A&M. You hit on it though. A&M has the better defense, and I think that comes to play. But I think Ole Miss defense is pretty good. I thought when it was at 54, this total was too high, and we could maybe get into a shootout, and this number could get close. But I still thought it was too high. I think the only move on the total, at least, was the under, because both these teams, have played to unders. I love the defense. I've been on 2 or 3 Ole Miss unders this year. They played to a couple overs, LSU and a few others early in the year. But when you look at their defensive numbers, they're running the ball a lot more than they ever have at Ole Miss. They're not just slinging it back there. Jackson Dart's not just throwing it 50 times a game. So I like this under here. I'm gonna have a bet on it. So under 53.5.
You're right. Yeah, you made a good point. I didn't really talk about it in my cap though, but yeah, Ole Miss does have a pretty good defense. Their numbers are pretty, keeping teams underneath the 300 total yards of total offense. They're nothing to sleep on. I just use in the background of when Ole Miss plays a good defense, a great defense for that matter, one of the best in the country. They usually falter in this one. We saw it with Alabama.
And that's good to the under, just like the Bama. Yeah, correct. Just like the Bama game.
And it's a perfect spot for the I agree with you on the under on this one. Let's get into the chat. 3-unit special. Just going back to the Clemson take. Klubnik blows. His name blows too. What a terrible name for a quarterback. And then a football guy likes a team total over on Notre Dame. And of course, we're joined by my guy, the Candyman can. The Candyman makes the world taste good. And then he says, when Candyman back in there, when like our coffee hot guns. Yes, hell yeah, we do. And of course, Justin in there says, Bam, A&M +3 on his card. 3-unit special, loves it too. This Smitty in the chat saying morning, boys. Let's give him a horn for that one. All right, let's get some of these top 25 games. Next one on the slate. This is a kind of a big one. A lot of maybe a pros versus Joes type of element on this one. We got Kansas State going on the road to Texas. This game is at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And listen, K-State been playing great ball, absolutely dominating low-level competition. But they're going to have a step up in class here with Texas. Of course, no Quinn Ewers. They're going to be going with the backup on this one. And I'm not talking about the Manning backup. They're going to be going in a different direction in this one. I'll start with you, Mike. Do you have any thoughts on K-State versus Texas?
I kind of like this first half to go over. I see a lot of the number dropping, and I just kind of feel like with Texas, I know the backup situation, but like there's two types of Texas, right? When Texas was playing kind of mediocre schools where they should command the game, their defense steps up and they shut them down. But when they play these battles, like we saw it with Oklahoma, where they get into a shootout, and I just don't know if they have the tools to be able to shoot it out there with the quarterback situation. But I like this first half over. The numbers come down a little bit too from where it opened at 26.5. There's 24s out there now. So I think I'm going to jump on that first half over for this Texas K-State game.
Yeah, I don't hate that one. Listen, you have Texas here scoring 30 points or more in every single game this season. So maybe the over is the take on this one. And a lot of these numbers, I'm looking at their first half splits on this one. A lot of them are going over that number that you're talking about there. But I'll pass it to you, Connor. Your thoughts, K-State versus Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I think you play Texas here or you don't play it at all. I mean, throughout the year, I've seen this K-State defense. I think they're okay. Middle of the season, they get kind of gashed. And now what do we take from the last two games? And they're all hyped again. They went 41-3 and 41-0. Is this defense back? But now they head back out on the road where I don't think they play their best football. I don't love the two quarterback system. It's worked so far. I don't trust Howard. I know the backup's in here, but I don't think that really is a big deal for Texas in this one. I always love K-State against the other big one, Oklahoma, where they've had success over the years.
Right.
You guys, not against Texas. They just haven't been able to get it done. And I thought the number was right there. I think they can win by a touchdown. This should be a good game. So, it's just for me. I think you lay the 3.5 forward Texas or lay off.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one. You actually look at the home and versus away splits. It's night and day. I mean, they average 43-9 at home, 29-27 on the road. But you look at some of these road games. They have played Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Missouri. So they've had some real tough road games, I would say. But minus 36 net yard average, but they're playing another tough opponent in this spot again. They're 1-2 straight up on the road this season. Yeah, it's a tough spot for K-State. I mean, I know it's I've seen a lot of sharp people on K-State, but it's nothing I want to jump into. But yeah, I agree with you, Connor. I think it's a Texas or pass on this one.
You see a lot of this talk about the K-State, and the home and the road splits there and their points. The last two home teams they played were Houston and TCU. So, in all fairness, they got 3 points between two games on two cupcakes that haven't performed this season whatsoever. TCU with the quarterback change and the whole new system that they're trying to run out there. And flip side of things with Houston, who's, was a juggernaut for a couple of years there, kind of falling apart and not being able to get the ball in the end zone as of late. So, to me, it's kind of, I discount that total that K-State's been able to hold down at home. And I think they are more true to that road side of things. So I think this is overreaction on the line, just overreaction, like the knee-jerk reaction to those 3 points they've let up over two games here. I think the total's a steal right now. And I do like that Texas side of things too.
Yeah, you talk about the home games this year. This is the home games they played. Southeast Missouri State, Troy, UCF, TCU, Houston.
Right.
And I mean, we're not talking about ranked opponents, strong opponents. When they've had to step up and play a strong opponent, they've lost. I mean, we talk about Missouri, they lost on the road. Same thing with Oklahoma State. We may be seeing the same thing on this one versus Texas. I would say Texas or pass on that one. I don't understand the line movement and the money versus the tickets on that one. But hey, sometimes people know more than us. All right, next game that comes on the board. I don't know if this is a big game or not because the spread is not telling you it's going to be a big game. We have Missouri going on the road here. Missouri on the up and up, flipping the program around. Eli Drakowitz doing some work over there in Missouri, going against a Georgia team that has kind of sleepwalk danced their way into all these bigger spots. The toughest part of their schedule is at the back end. And now they get one of those ranked opponents coming into Athens, Georgia. I think this is a Georgia take or pass, personally, for me. But I'll ask you, Mike, what are your thoughts on Missouri versus Georgia?
Another tough game. I wasn't really high on many of these, big top 25 matchups here. I will say, there is a number that I was tracking this season. It's the Saturday home favorite factor. When you're previously won as a favorite, which Georgia did, and their opponent's off a win, which Missouri is. It's a conference game. 37-4 straight up, 25-14 against the spread. But I just don't know that I trust Georgia enough to cover. I mean, they covered. It's just a tough spot for me to look at this Georgia team and think that they're going to be able to They should. I mean, they should by all stretch go out there. This isn't the same Missouri team that we had a couple of years ago with the Tigers that were out there, trying to get into the playoffs. But at the same time, is 15.5 the right number? I mean, it's 15 and a half that are out there. It's a little too many for me. I think it's for me, this is a stay away game, but I would have to take the points with Missouri before I laid them with Georgia. I just can't get there. And I don't like either side enough to be able to feel confident one way or the other.
Yeah, but I mean, my take on it is, I mean, this is not an official play when I'm talking about. I'm talking about leans in this one. I should have specified that one. I just think, Georgia really hasn't been a great covering team all season long. I was like, but when they have to play a comparable opponent, and I feel like I've seen this year after year after year with Georgia, until that changes, they always come into these games and impress everybody and be like, oh yeah, we forgot. Georgia is there's a reason why they're the reigning champions right now. So this is kind of one of those spots that I think Kirby Smart always gets his team up for, rather than playing these lower tiered competition games where Georgia kind of just plays almost to the level of their competition, but they always get the W. So
and Guns, to that point, this could be that buy low spot for Georgia where everybody knows all season they haven't covered. Yeah, they came off that cover last week against Florida, but everybody knows that they haven't covered and the numbers are too big. Now we're seeing that number tick down because Vegas needs to get some action on the other side of it. So, and they want to get some folks involved with Georgia. I think we could be at a buy low spot for Georgia, just simply based on their production. And coming off that Florida win, it was 43-20. A lot of points were scored there. Georgia's offense is not having any challenge finding the end zone there. 43 points, 37 against Vandy. Yeah, it was Vandy. Kentucky 51, 27 against Auburn, and then 49 on UAB. They're finding the end zone. I guess the flip side of the equation is what does Missouri do out there? And they've been battling. Missouri definitely is a battle-tested team. They're certainly fighting hard in the SEC. It could be that buy low spot for Georgia.
Yeah, and Coin says it in here. He leans the under in that game. It's at 56. I'm seeing actually, I thought I was seeing 52s. I'm sorry. Yeah, I see 55 and a half out there. So it is ticking in that direction, it looks like, Coin. So you may be on the right side of that one. Let's talk about some of these other plays that I got. I'll take a break from the top 25, but I got another additional play I want to give to the people. And this is going to be my first half play of the season. And I'm going to be taking UTSA here, first half versus North Texas. Listen, North Texas coming off back-to-back losses, Tulane and Memphis. They're 3-5 straight up, 5-3 ATS this season. They made the egregious comeback. We were on North Texas last week, and my God, I thought that bet was dead. And then they just kind of circled the wagon second half and made that comeback versus Memphis. UTSA in this 4-game winning streak, all conference wins. This is when they play their best ball. They haven't played well in non-conference play, but when the conference games hit, they started mowing teams down. They're off a 14-point win versus ECU last week, 5-3 straight up, 3-5 ATS. North Texas has decent numbers in conference play. I'll give them that. +5 point differential, +56 net yard average, +1 turnover ratio. But they are 1-3 straight up in conference play, and 4-0 ATS for full games on this one. So they're not winning the games, but they're covering the spreads. They were a dog versus Navy, Tulane, and Memphis, and kept it within a possession in all 3 games. They blew out Temple by 31, which is why they had that big point differential. So you've seen that +5. It's a little bit misleading. It's more related to an absolute blowout versus Temple. UTSA on this one, they started the year 1-3 straight up versus non-conference opponents, but their star quarterback didn't play in. Frank Harris didn't play in 2 of those games, so got to take that with a grain of salt. He is back and healthy, playing ball with UTSA right now. When they got into conference play, they flourished. +19 point differential, +93 net yard average, and +3 turnover ratio. They are 4-0 straight up, 3-1 ATS versus conference opponents this season. Now, both these teams did play last year in Conference USA. These are defectors from Conference USA into the AAC. UTSA won the first matchup 31-27 on the road, and they played each other in the conference championship last season, where UTSA dominated them 48-27. But I'm looking at the first half. I'm keeping this into a small window, and let me tell you why. First half stats versus conference opponents. North Texas, -9 point differential, -38 net yard average. UTSA, on the other hand, +10 point differential, plus 64 net yard average in first half splits. So I think this is a yin and yang versus how these two teams play in the first half. You have a North Texas team that plays very slow in the first half, doesn't pick up speed till the second half, and that tells in their numbers if you look at the ATS record. And I'm giving you the point differentials. They always play from behind, and then they creep up in the second half. But UTSA, on the other side, loves to come out fast, put their foot on the gas pedal, take you out of the game early. And I think this is going to be one of those spots we need to be riding the UTSA train. And the line here is 7.5, 8 on some boards. I'm seeing the line creep to 4.5, 5 in the first half. I found a -4 out there, and I grabbed it. So I got UTSA -4 first half. I love this play. 2 units special, baby. And I know you have UTSA money line in your parlay. Is that correct?
Was UTSA's money line in there? I can't recall. doesn't sound like something I would do.
No, I was looking at mine. My fault. That was on my parlay.
You know what? It's funny because when C-Mac and I were talking about that North Texas Memphis game last week, and we both ended up on the North Texas side of things, and they were getting beat up early, and we said, North Texas is that team. You nailed it. They're that team that gets the shit kicked out of them early, and you think it's over, and just before you tear up your ticket, you look back in the fourth quarter and see that they're somehow battling around to try to cover, and that's what they did last week, and I think that fits the model again perfectly for this UTSA first half. I like that first half look quite a bit. I'm not a huge Roadrunners fan, but I could get behind that. As a matter of fact, I might get behind that this week here. I like that UTSA first half call, and I think you're getting the numbers moved up significantly. Well, not significantly, but it opened at 6.5s. You got 8s and 8.5s out there. The one book particularly that puts the best number out there, and I get concerned, has the worst number. So that certainly is a buy spot for me. And taking that -4.5, yeah, I can see him winning that first half by a touchdown. I like that look.
Yeah, plus you have that good split in there. I mean, if you're looking at a 55 to 60% difference between the full game spread and the first half, that kind of tells a story as well. And I think this is going to be an absolute you'll have a double-digit lead here at half with UTSA. But Mike, any other plays you want to give to the people before we start breaking down some of these other top 25 delicious plays?
Yeah, C-Mac talked about the South Florida spot. I'm with him on the South Florida spot there. I think that's a good opportunity. I wouldn't be surprised to see South Florida win the game outright too. So kind of keep an eye on that thing. It was plus 500 last night when I was talking about that. I'm big on the Oklahoma State spot as well. I like Oklahoma State. They're 9-0 straight up and against the spread when they're coming off a game where they were covering by over 14 points. So when they're striking, they continue to strike, and they're finding the end zone. They're finding success. I know it's a tricky game this week for them, but I'm going to get down with some Oak State this week. And there's one more spot that I like. Let me look at the card. I mean, there's quite a few that I like, but there's one more that I know which one it was. Florida. I'm jumping in on Florida, coming off the situation they had last week there. That they gave up the first cover to Georgia all season, but they're in a great spot for me this week here. They got the line open at -6. It's down to -3. So we've got quite a bit of steam that came in on that Arkansas side of things. But, when Arkansas, this is kind of like we talked about earlier with Navy on the road. This is a situation where you've got Arkansas in an absolute fade position. For me, let me see if I can find the number here. My numbers are kind of all over the place here with what's been going on this week, but I had Arkansas. Let me see. I can't find it now. Of course I can't find it now, but nonetheless, I was on a play Florida fade Arkansas spot, and I wish I could find the number. I will find it, but it won't be timely as I'm scrolling up and down here, feverishly trying to find this number, and I can't get my fingers on it. So it is what it is.
It is what it is. That's right. 29 joined us in the chat. He says the boys are in there. Give him the horn on that one. And of course, Nasty Nate loves the under in the Ole Miss Texas A&M game. I think that is a great look from even C-Mac. I may have to take that myself. I actually like that look, especially with those two defenses playing in here. But let's get into you kind of alluded to. Okay.
I was just going to say, I found it here. When you got a team that's coming off a bunch of losses and their margin of those losses is greater than 13 points as a dog, they're 12-83 30 and 65 against the spread. So very much a fade spot for Arkansas to play on Florida. The other Arkansas number that I saw here is when they're an away dog and the total is less than 4 points, 10-0 to the over are them Arkansas Hogs. 23.5 points is the total margin on that victory for the over. So wow. I might double dip that spot too. I like Florida, and I think that game sails over. I don't care if you play Florida money line. Florida team total, Florida first half team total. Arkansas, even their team total probably contributes to this thing. But at the end of the day, I like that Florida and the over spots.
I like that situation for Florida too. You made some good points on this one. Coming off that bad loss at the world's largest cocktail party versus Georgia, they get back home in the swamp. They play exceptional in the swamp this season, and they've just been going out there just killing teams, steamrolling them. So I think that is a perfect spot. Yeah, I agree with you. Florida, I'll pass on that one. But let's talk a little bit of the swan song, as they say, for Bedlam. All right, so Bedlam's going to go and get buried into a grave after today, as Oklahoma ventures off to the SEC and leaves Oklahoma State holding the bag in the Big 12. But it's Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State, a tale as old as time, rivalry game. A little bit too early for me for this rivalry. It's going to be sad, but we're going to have to manage. Oklahoma State. You like Oklahoma State. I kind of lead towards the Oklahoma side on this one. The line really is telling me a story on this one. I think the line correlation in this spot, a lot of people loving what Oklahoma State's doing. And I know they have a tremendous running back over there that is kind of sneakily rising up as far as, even the Doak Walker Award, or even maybe even have a seat at the Heisman. But I think the losses are going to keep him off of that one. I lean towards the Oklahoma side on this one. Nothing I'm going to be playing in this one because it's the last Bedlam game, and they're not playing at home. They're playing at Oklahoma State. Tough spot.
Yeah, in Oklahoma, the big victory Oklahoma had this year is Texas, right? That Red River rivalry was a big game. It was a lot of fun to watch. They came out in that first half, but then they started kind of putting the brakes on there. Then they played UCF, and they beat a UCF team at home by 2 points. That was a little letdown spot, in my opinion. They were laying 17 as the number, and they were barely able to sneak that thing out there. And then obviously what happened last week with the loss here, I think the steam's out of the sails for those boys. And when you look at the other side of things, like I said, when you've got a team like Oklahoma State that's been covering, specifically Oklahoma State, 9-0 against the spread going back to November of 2018 when they're coming off a game where they covered by 2 or more touchdowns. So they're feeling what they're feeling themselves, and I think it's just the wind is out of the sails over there in Oklahoma, as they say. And time to go put the motorboat on and get your asses over to the SEC. So I think it's Oklahoma State time, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's why they play the games. Yeah. I think that should be a fun one to watch. We'll see. I've been let down by Oklahoma State so many times. What's one more? But I do like Oklahoma State to get the job done.
Yeah, you have Oklahoma State 4 straight wins. They're winning within margin. They beat Kansas State, Kansas, at West Virginia. Actually handled West Virginia, won there by 2 scores. Yeah. And of course, they handled at Cincinnati last week. Which, that's correct.
To win in Morgantown like that's a tough win. That's a good victory for them. So,
but what concerns me, if they would have just slept walk and beaten Kansas on the road, but they let Kansas beat them, and now they get to go into Bedlam. I almost think that they're going to be a little bit pissed off. I know Venables is a great coach, but I mean, coming off that first loss, there's got to be a little bit of motivation going into this game that kind of scares me off there. I mean, normally when I see Oklahoma State as a dog, I salivate because I love taking Oklahoma State as a dog, but this is a tough one. And then you look at the records on this one, 1-7 ATS Oklahoma State is versus Oklahoma in this matchup. The only time they won was 2011, 37-33. That was like the best Oklahoma State team. Their defense was incredible in 2021. I don't know about this one. It is an absolute pass for me. Let's just enjoy that game. But if you want to throw Oklahoma in a money line parlay, go ahead. I think I did that. Did I?
And make no mistake, I would much rather have had the 9.5s, the 9s, the 8.5s, the touchdown. It's down to 5.5s and 5s now. It is getting low, so that does concern me.
Yeah, I mean, if it's going in the Oklahoma State direction, who knows? We'll see. We'll see how that game comes out there. But let's talk Little 3-unit special coming in here. Arkansas with a new OC this week. Oh, that's right. That's right. They fired their OC because they put up 7 points 3 points last week.
They fucking suck.
Oh my God, did they suck? I think I was on the Arkansas side on that one. That was just absolutely brutal.
That game was on, and I was like, I better go do some yard work.
Yeah. Flea Mathis says, "Sup, fellas? Had to rewind. Went to the liquor store. Saw a couple dogs. Had to help get back to owner." Ooh, there we go. All right, let's get into
man of the people. Flea Mathis is.
So Flea Mathis, my guy. Here's a good game on this one. Holy, are we going to see some points on this one? I hope. This is Washington versus USC. Listen, Washington coming after they came out that big win versus Oregon that we were on. Thank God I had the -2.5. They're going against USC. They're going on the road in here in the Coliseum, and USC kind of not playing well ever since that Notre Dame loss. Really struggling. They did get the win last week versus Cal. Struggled in that game too. But also Washington sleepwalking themselves. This is a tough game to cap for me personally. I wish I could take the over, but I think the over is at 100 at this point, maybe 70. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think if anything, I lean towards the over. I think both teams will score 50. But I'll pass it to you, Mike. Any thoughts? Washington versus USC.
I like Washington in this spot here. I wouldn't be bad about parlaying Washington on the money line with something else. Last week with the Caleb spot there, where everyone was talking about him being checked out and what was he going to do. And you're right, the USC overs have been hitting at a high rate, but yeah, we're at 78 now. I mean, I don't want to lay any 78s out there. It seems to me like this should be a game that ends up being a slugs pace, like a 21-14, 21-17 type of finish, just based on what the expectation versus the reality, if you will. Expected big point opportunities and big explosive drives versus not. USC did beat Cal 50-49, but they're not covering spreads, and Washington is. So, they're not covering spreads as much as they're winning, but I could see a lower scoring game here. I could see not the 15-7 that we saw against Arizona State, but 21-17 wouldn't surprise me, because this number's just gotten so far out of hand. And the jury's out. Everybody knows the USC over spot. So tough game. I like Washington. I think Washington comes in there and slaps around USC, shuts their season down, and Washington goes on to make their bid for the Pac-12, and they're building their playoff resume. This would be a big playoff resume game for them when it comes to their justification to get into college football. I know USC 7-2, but they're the talk of the town with their quarterback situation and what they've got with their coaches. So it's an opportunity to prove themselves now, and now more than ever. So I think it should be a fun game to watch, but I'm expecting it to be lower scoring.
Yeah, it looks like, you look at USC's schedule too. They got Washington, at Oregon, and UCLA coming up in their last 3 games. This is going to be a tough gauntlet for them. And then you look at the Washington side, they got USC, Utah, or at Oregon State, Washington State. I mean, both these teams have some really tough games coming up on the board. And I don't know about this one. I mean, I was talking to Shark about this one last night, and I was like, my opinion, and he agreed with me on this one, is this could be a 1-possession game where somebody's going to have the ball at the end, or Washington's going to blow them out of the water. It's one of the two. I don't think USC is going to be a team that's going to be up 3 scores versus Washington, but I mean, Coin says it here. He says it's USC homecoming, if that carries any weight. I don't know if any homecomings carry any weight for me. It's never in my caps. I just think that you look at the last 3 sample size with USC, the team sounds like they're regressing. However, Lincoln Riley back against the wall, playing at home. You got to step up and be the coach. And when are you going to do it? You have to do it in this game. And quite frankly, this is a good spot for you to do so versus a Washington team that's kind of playing not great football right now. They are getting W's. I'll give them that. But I don't think they're playing their best ball. They've lost the yardage battle in the last 3 games. So
I feel like the homecoming factor does play a part for me when your team's got something to play for. And when your team's getting out, wind out of the sails with that loss to Notre Dame. They followed it up with another loss to Utah. So they stopped compounding losses by beating Cal on the road, but it wasn't anything to go home and feel great about. So it could be homecoming, and that's fine. But I like Candyman's spot there. He likes the Washington, Florida money line parlay. That's how I think I would play that spot there. I like that look.
I like that look as well. Yeah, I think I mean, this is a tough game for me. I could see if someone told me they were on USC, if someone told me they were on Washington, and I'd be like, I understand both points. This is exactly the reason I'm not playing this game at all. Yeah. But I hope to see a lot of scoring. I just want to see Caleb Williams, and I want to see Michael Penix absolutely have a ball game, like 400 plus passing yards. They both have 3 to 4 tutties, and it's just going to be an absolute just air it out fest in that game. All right, I want to double dip this one because it is probably the game of the week. Of course, College Game Day is there as we speak. You had Pat McAfee on his chair doing the Roll Tide chant for the crowd. LSU versus Alabama. A little bit of a rivalry, actually a better rivalry than the Iron Bowl, in my opinion. Yeah, Brian Kelly going on the road. They beat Alabama last week. This is a receipt that Nick Saban kept in his pocket. He cashed in the Tennessee one in a weird backdoor fumble return fashion to cover the spread. But I got to tell you what, I'll start with you, Mike, before I go on my rant on why I like LSU.
There's so many, because we jump around with the order, there's so many games to get through. Takes me fucking forever to scroll down and find it. There it is. Big the number at 7 now at -3. I know you're on the LSU side of things, and the Tigers did me dirty in week 1, so I'm still struggling to overcome that. I know it should be every week should be separate incident or separate kind of box that you kind of measure the team within, but I have a hard time believing LSU is going to come out there and beat Alabama. Now, can they cover the 3? Maybe. But here's that book factor that I was telling you about, where there's a book out there when they have the best number, they want you to take it, and they're certainly getting people eating short hairs. Take LSU. So.
Understood.
So, for me though, I like the total in this game. I think there's an opportunity to see some points. And where was that number that I had for this one? Again, I got to scroll all over the place for this thing here with our formation with these games, but. LSU's just at an 8-0 over spot when they're going over by almost 2.5 touchdowns. So I like points. I think it's going to be a little bit more explosive. I think Bama's got the better coaching edge. You could argue that, Brian Kelly is, a leg up from obviously what was out there. But look, Brian Kelly played, Nick, well, he didn't play him, but he was coaching a Notre Dame team when it was playoff time, and Alabama was kicking the shit out of him. So I kind of think about that in the back pocket as well, but I like the total. I want to see points in this game. I don't want to see one of those patented. I've been pretty in tune with these numbers too. Like a lot of people were on that Bama USF over, and I was like, this game's going to go way under, and it did go way under. And I think in this game here, we see the over, and I don't know that it goes way over now that we're looking at 61s and 62s, but I think there's going to be points on the board.
Yeah, when you see that total in there, that just screams to me that we're going to have points. And if they're going to be points, I want to have the best offense on my side, and that was going to be LSU. Let me tell you why I like LSU in this one. They're coming off a bye week, right? They beat Army 62-0 plus 377 net yards in that game. They're 6-2 straight up, 5-3 ATS this season. You have Bama coming off a bye as well. They beat Tennessee 34-20 despite losing the net yardage battle in that one, minus 46 net yards, minus 1 turnover ratio. Listen, I thought Tennessee had control of that game, and they kind of just fell apart in the second half. And what do you know about LSU? Tremendous offense. They average 553 yards per game of total offense, 5.8 yards per carry, 70.2 pass completion rate, 340 passing yards per game, and 11 yards per attempt. They're ranked 7th in rushing yards per attempt and 2nd in passing yards per attempt and yards per game. One of the best offenses in the country. Now you have Alabama's offense, not so great, right? They only put up 367 yards per game, 3.7 yards per carry on the ground, 220 yards passing per game. Their O-line is terrible this year. One of the worst offensive lines in Nick Saban's regime over in Alabama. They've given up 35 sacks this year for a 19.1% sack rate. That is absolutely awful for Alabama. Now you got Bama's defense. They've been keeping their team in games. They hold their opponents to 306 yards yards per game of total offense, 3.1 yards per carry, and 11.4% sack rate. They hold their opponents to 115 yards below their offensive season average. But Bama has played to the level of their competition in their last 3 conference games. They beat A&M by 6. An egregious cover, by the way, because I think A&M should have won that game. Arkansas by 3. Tennessee by 14, but Bama got that fumble return, backdoor cover on that one. So take that a little bit misleading outcome in that game. And the line correlation standpoint, you can see a drastic regression in the line over the years. So you actually see this LSU team, as the books are saying, this LSU team is getting to not only to the level of Bama, they're actually exceeding to their expectations of the value of LSU. 2021, Bama was favored at home by 28.5 points in 2021. That was 2 years ago. They won by 6. 2022, the line was 13.5 with Bama favored on the road. LSU won by 1. Now you're seeing the line here sit at -3 with Bama favored at home. The shortest line that it's ever been since Joe Burrow was there. And guess what Joe Burrow did in that game in Tuscaloosa? He won against Bama. And then you have Daniels in this one. This is one of those games that reminds me of that similar spot with Burrow. Granted, they're not playing for a national championship. Well, depends on who you talk to as far as the media heads are concerned. But this 2-loss team still has a little bit of life to even get into the college football playoff. And quite frankly, it starts with the Bama game. They have a tough road ahead. They have a very tough schedule. But I think this is a perfect spot to be taking LSU. LSU 9-2 ATS after the bye. Bama 4-5 ATS after a bye. I just think that the tide has turned here for LSU. Granted, they won last year. There's a revenge factor in there versus Bama, but this isn't the same Bama team. Their offense is not as good. And I think with this game, you have to consider the offense to be the factor in this game. And I would rather be on the better offensive side than the Bama side. The total is at 60+. That tells you something in that game. Give me LSU +3, 2.5 units special.
I really like the point you bring up there about the changing of the guard with the teams here. And if you look at the macro landscape here with the new coach coming in, Brian Kelly was always handcuffed by what was going on at Notre Dame because of their high academic standards. Not saying that LSU's got low academic standards, but what they do have is big, deep pockets when it comes to their boosters and being able to dish out those NIL dollars that aren't fully disclosed. There's not a lot of transparency in the NIL market. So, teams like LSU that go out there and they bring in their big-time coach, they go out there and they recruit some big-time players, now have the opportunity to make big-time dollars or go sit on the bench behind a, Alabama quarterback. No, you're going to go get that money. You're going to go out there. You want to be competitive. You're getting paid. You got an opportunity to start in the SEC. And you're right. This is a big opportunity for the college football playoff push here, or at least the SEC championship push here. If you knock down that Bama a peg here and give them that second loss, you're right back in the game. And, that could certainly get me more excited about LSU. So I was high on LSU to start the season. The more you talk about that opportunity, the more I kind of get jacked up about it as well here. I'd like to see LSU get the job done.
Yeah. I mean, counterpoint on this one. When LSU has gone into a big game, they have faltered. You saw it with Ole Miss. You saw it with Florida State. So I'm waiting for them to kind of get over the snide here, and I think they get it done here in Tuscaloosa and really probably crush the dreams of Alabama, because if they get that one more loss, it may be lights out there for the Alabama Crimson Tide as far as the college playoff element is concerned. And guess what? I have a ticket of under 10.5 wins for Alabama, and that would be cashing the ticket if they lose today. Oh boy, that's what I want. So let's go Tigers.
I'll cheer you on.
Tigers.
I'll cheer you on.
Yeah, I'll be speaking like I'm from Louisiana today with my draws, as they say there.
Get some gumbo, a little Creole for some dinner. You got to get in the spirit of this thing. It's a dinner time game too, so
Absolutely.
Crawfish.
Yeah. And I want to give a little quick hitter on this one. I'm going to give you my last play, and this was one that I added last night as I was looking at trends. All right, so this is more of a trend-oriented based pick. Okay, so take it with a little bit of grain of salt, but I still like the pick. Marshall versus App State. All right. You saw it in the parlay. Mike did have App State first half, and I said, okay, that's fine. But I like the Marshall side on this one as a dog. And let me tell you why. The trend. Listen to this trend right here. App State versus their last 12 conference opponents. They are 1-11 ATS versus conference opponents. They're 3-8 ATS versus home favorites. I'm not saying they won't get it done in the first half. This is full game elements here. Then you have Marshall. Yeah. They haven't played really well in the last 4 weeks. They're due to have something happen to get up for an opponent. They've lost 4 straight, only scoring 15 points in their last 2 weeks, but that was against JMU, great defense, and Coastal Carolina, which they put in a backup quarterback that I didn't know was Heisman caliber when I took them last week, but they got crushed. But I think they're going to get back in the spot on the road versus App State. App State has basically been playing to the level of their competition. Their last 3 games, they played Coastal, ODU, and Southern Miss. They only beat Southern Miss by 10. Southern Miss is one of the worst teams in the Sun Belt. So I'm liking Marshall on this one, trend-oriented basis. I'm not going to buck a trend here. 1-11 ATS versus the last 12 conference opponents. Give me Marshall here, plus 3.5, 2 units special.
So you know what? When I talked about that trend there with the first half and App State, there was a reason I isolated that to first half, because you're absolutely right. When you look at those trends of the numbers with what Marshall's doing, what they should be doing, and their expectations are definitely lower than, or their realities are lower than their expectations. But when I looked at those numbers and I broke it down and I saw that first half was covered by such a significant margin, it's that second half that's really eye-opening, because they're coming back and they're barely covering the spread in those games. So yeah, I would say that, let's get that app. I mean, we're double dipping there. Let's get that App State first half for the parlay, and let's see Marshall come back and get the job done and cover that game.
Hell yeah. And as we get back into that, because you say they're due doesn't mean they will be due. It's like, who's due? Who are you talking about, Nasty Nate? We'll say who's due. Are you talking about Marshall? Yeah, Marshall might not be due. They might lose another game, but hell, I can't buck a 1-11 trend. I told you it's a trend-oriented pick on that one. I can't buck trends, especially big ones like that. I've been doing that with the NFL, and it's been cashing for me, and I will continue to do that with college in certain spots. Listen, it's not a 4-unit play; it's a 2-unit play. Let's relax here, folks. Let's get into some late night degenerate action here. A big game, I think, and it should be 2 ranked opponents in my opinion. UCLA versus Arizona. Late night degenerate special. It is the tail end of the parlay. So if you guys want to, if we hit all the legs and we're sweating out the late one, my God, is that going to be electric here? UCLA versus Arizona. Arizona is a covering monster right now, coming off that big win versus Oregon State at home. Now they get another comparable opponent with one of the best defenses in the Pac-12 in UCLA, but their offense, a little bit suspect on this one. I like Arizona. I wouldn't mind sprinkling on the money line. I'm probably going to add it to my card later today, but I'm just waiting on the right line. I'll give you your thoughts, Mike. What do you think of this late night Pac-12 action?
Yeah, I like the home dog in the spot. I like the money line in the home dog. I like the money line. I like the spread. Give me the points. Give me whatever. I like. I'm starting to become a believer on Arizona, and I'm not on the UCLA side of things. I know 6-2, 5-3. It should be a big battle, but I like that Arizona side here. Especially at home. Give me Arizona right there. I like that spot a lot. I'm definitely in there. I'm going to tail the parlay. And not only will I sweat it out, but I will probably jack that thing up as we get closer to the evening. And we'll see how the horse racing goes for me throughout the day. But I expect to have a lot of action throughout this card. And this is one of those spots that I kind of had written down that I like taking advantage of here. They're just doing things the right way. And they're beating an Oregon State team. They got Washington State. They shut down Washington State. They almost beat USC at Arizona, and they lost a tightly contested game to Washington. So it's a team that I think is on the uprise here. Maybe not for this season to get the expectations that they had, but they're moving in the right direction. And on the flip side of things with UCLA, I'm just not a UCLA fan. So that being said, I like that Arizona play quite a bit.
I like UCLA's defense. I like them as a dog. Wine Time in the chat says Arizona good spot. He's a UCLA whisperer himself. Always keened in on that team on every single spot. And he likes the under in that game as well. I can't disagree with you on this one. I think Arizona's defense is underrated. I think their offense is underrated. This kid Fafita, this freshman, 5'9", just ripping balls like Drew Brees out there. I'm impressed with this Arizona team. I'm impressed with the coaching. I'm impressed with everything they've been doing. This team is still undervalued in the market, which is astounding to me. And I think by the end of this season, we're going to know who the Wildcats are. I love Arizona. Sprinkle that shit on the money line. I'm going to be adding that to my card later. I'm just going to tell you right now, but I want to see if I can get a 3.5. If I get a 3, I'm just going to ride the 3. But I'm doubting that it will ever get to 3.5. Maybe I wishful thinking on my part, but if I get a +3, I'm just going to ride it, take the +3, and then take a little bit of a sprinky dink on the money line because Arizona's probably going to win this game outright at home. Wine Time said the future of Arizona is looking really good. Yeah, I mean, the program, this kid Fafita, Fafita's just a freshman, and he's playing like he's a junior or senior right now. I think he's a kid that's going to be something to build around. That's going to help with recruiting. And with the expansion of the Pac-12, not sure what's going to happen with that. They may hurt a little bit of the recruiting there, but maybe Arizona has a landing spot somewhere in a different conference. I'm sure they're trying to pick up their value a little bit as the season goes along. But man, oh man, I was like, I want to make sure that I give props to everybody in the chat. 21 of you beautiful bastards watching me live on YouTube, and Mike as well, and more of you guys watching on Twitter. If you're over watching on Twitter, what the hell's wrong with you? You got to come over to YouTube on the Shark the Waters channel. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. You better be hitting the like, all you beautiful bastards. If you're watching me live, you better be hitting the like because this is what is going to continue this show. I may quit. I may quit this week if you don't hit the like. All right, I don't need to be here. I do this for you guys. So please join me. Hit the like button. I've had too much coffee, you can tell. Just support the Shark the Waters channel. Listen, we're going to be coming out Sunday with an NFL show. And of course, always having Mike here on Saturday mornings is a beautiful thing, as well as C-Mac. I appreciate them taking time out of their day to join me on this show. Before we close them out, we're going to recap the picks. And then we're going to make sure before we let you guys go, if you missed it, we got a 2-pack of Cup of Coffee Parlay. So let's run it back. We'll start with mine here. We'll give it to Mike. This is the parlay that I'm running with today. A&M Moneyline, UVA Moneyline, UTSA Moneyline, Georgia Moneyline, Marshall Moneyline, Iowa State Moneyline. I love Iowa State. One of my top plays this week. As well as Virginia, West Virginia Moneyline, Oregon State Moneyline, Fresno State Moneyline in some late night action, as well as the Wildcats we just talked about there with Arizona Moneyline, plus 13,530 parlay. So get on that one. Lock it in. Let's ride. This is just for cup of coffee purposes. I'm talking 2 Starbucks. All right. Let's not get crazy. This is a pretty insane lottery ticket that we're putting in here. But hell, we're gonna cash one of these. I hope. Let's go give Mike's right there. Mike, tell them what they're gonna be taking.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I was laughing the other day when I hit this one. I was like, man, I should have put more on it. And I thought, am I really gonna put more on an 8 to 10 leg parlay? I mean, come on, be reasonable, right? Be happy you hit it. Enjoy the fact that you hit it. Maybe play some other smaller parlays throughout the day as it starts looking good. But I got a little double dipper here. We're going to start with some full games. We got South Carolina full game, Utah full game, Virginia full game, Tulsa, and Texas State full games. 4 first half plays there. UCF first half, App State first half, Washington first half, and Navy first half. All money line spots. Little 81-1 money action. Let's go.
Let's go. Those are the 2 for a cup of coffee parlays. And if hell, Mike, if you want to add these to the show, all you got to do is hit me up. I will put your damn parlays in here because I've seen you on live streams. You're putting live parlays in there, just cashing tickets left and right. I love it. Block those in. if you want to know what the parlays are, you can also DM me if you missed any of those, and I will make sure I send those to you properly. But I gave you some added plays on this one. I gave you LSU +3, 2.5 units. UTSA first half -4, 2 units. Texas A&M +3, 2 units. Marshall +3.5, 2 units. Those are the 4 added plays, plus the 6 that I gave you last night. I posted on my Twitter at GunzPicks. You can go check that out. Mike, give them your top plays of the day.
Yeah, so I got the triple dipper here to start things off with Nebraska. The first half, the full game, and the over in that game. I took Notre Dame. I'm going to go with that Texas first half over 24. I've got Florida against them Hogs, and I took the over in that spot. I like the Oak State team at 5.5. I'm taking that one. I'm going to add one, too, for you guys. We didn't really talk too much about it, but I'm going to take the points at home with the UTEP Miners against Western Kentucky. Home dog spot for this team that I think is not on the uptick or the upswing, but a team that I think should be able to get the job done today, at least cover that spread. And I'm excited to watch some of these other games as well here. You know, you've seen the parlay, some of the spots that I like out there that we didn't talk about individually, but put 2 and 2 together. If it's in the parlay, liked it enough to start to make a play on it. And I'm sure Guns feels the same way. So let's go out there and let's get that cash. Let's have a great day. Let's make that money. We got Breeders' Cup today as well. All kinds of things popping off in the world of sports. It's a great day to have a great day.
Hell yeah. And I just shout out to the chat that was involved in the show today. We got Justin Rocco, Jay Smooth, Nasty Nate, Brian Eaton, 3 unit special himself, Rodney M. I need to trademark 3 unit special before he takes that name away from me. Wine Time, always in the chat. Stephen Hairston, Football Guy 97. Bob the Candyman, always with us here. The Smitty, Coin, all you beautiful bastards that joined us here live. I appreciate you all. Please join us every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. We will be live to talk college football, giving added plays, giving parlays, and just firing shots across the bow. Got to be catching some tickets today. The motherfucking gun free mind says, what it do? Let's catch some tickets. Thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button, this big thumbs up for me, please, you dumb bastards. If you're watching live, don't be lazy. Click a button for me. Let's dominate the board. Appreciate you all. See you Sunday, 10:30 a.m. for the NFL show. Let's catch some tickets. Let's dominate the board. And as always, let's keep dancing. Bang.